Hello, I'm Susan Johnson, Membership Secretary for the International Wizard of Oz Club. This year, we celebrate 50 years of Oziana, our publication of original stories, poems, and artwork by club members. We'll add a story to our YouTube channel every week, read by either that story's author or another fan, starting with a story from our very first issue in 1971. My thanks to all of the authors who have agreed to let us share their work. I hope that you will enjoy them. Until 1971, the Bound Bugle was the sole publication of the International Wizard of Oz Club. And while it was full of nonfiction and research articles, it did not generally contain original Oz fiction. No doubt there were many club members who were writing stories and poems and creating artwork, but there was no central place for these stories to be shared with other Oz enthusiasts. This is where Oziana comes in. Oziana was the idea of Gary Ralph, a young boy living in Norman, Oklahoma at the time and a member of the club. As Gary described himself to me when I contacted him to let him know that the club wanted to celebrate 50 years of Oziana, I was a lonely little boy living in the middle of Oklahoma who is so delighted to find that there was a place where I could communicate with others who shared some of my unusual ideas and my love of Oz. Sometime in 1970, Gary wrote to Fred Meyer, one of the founding members of the club and the club's secretary for many years. Gary suggested that the club solicit and publish original Oz material by club members on an annual basis. Fred Meyer contacted the Riley and Lee Company, then publishers of the book, and requested permission to use characters and locations in the series. In April of 1970, Fred received a letter from Harvey Plotnick, president of the publishing company, expressing his delight that the club was undertaking such a project and graciously granting permission to use characters and locations in the series. The first issue of Oziana came out at the end of 1971, and there has been a publication annually ever since then. Gary edited the first few issues until 1975, when his life became a little more complicated as he was preparing for and taking off for college. Gary's father had been very supportive of the early Ozianas and helped with the artwork and layout, which was done on the family living room floor. Peter Hamp assisted with the final publication before Gary handed Oziana off to Jay Delkin. Jay Delkin was an international member living in Canada. Jay actually edited the publication for many years until 1985. Jay also wrote many of the stories and poems contained therein. He continued to write stories for Oziana after Robin Olderman took over the publication in 1986. Robin was a devoted club member who had assumed many roles. She was a former English teacher who wrote many delightful plays, radio scripts, and the Oz game book for the enjoyment of club members. Robin edited the 2000 issue of Oziana, which celebrated Oz the first 100 years, in celebration of the publication of the Wizard of Oz book. In typical Robin fashion, she began the issue with a poem with help from Persevere, that beloved Thompson character who was always struggling with rhyming. I would like to read that poem to you now. On the first 100 years, it's actually been 100 years since Baum's first Oz books, Magic, first appeared. On bookshelves for the children to enjoy, it still appears to inner girls and boys. No matter what one's age may be, it seems that Oz can lead us back to our first dreams, a world where coziness and fun are found, a world where high adventure can abound, a world where loyalty and ethics rule, where friendship's valued more than any blank. That's Oz, all right, no matter where we look. Our first look at it through stage, screen, or book. Like Keats' urn, it's held up through the years, continuing to help us cope with blank. And problems, hassles, stress from day to day. The Oz phenomenon is here to stay. 3 cheers for Oz. This is first blank. First and foremost, Oz remains perennial. Persevere and Robin Olderman. In 2001, Robin experienced serious health issues and equally serious technology issues with the loss of her computer and all of her Oziana files. Joel Harris, who was then in charge of special publications, took on the daunting task of creating the 2001 and 2002 issues from scratch. With the help of the indefatigable Peter Hamp, Joel was off to the rescue. He had help, thankfully, from John Bell, who came on as author and copy editor, Marcus Mevis, who came on as illustrator and designer, and Melody Grandy as art director. This was the first issue of Oziana to have colored illustrations on the front and back covers, and also the first submission from Gina Wickwar, author of The Hidden Prince of Oz and later Toto in Oz, both published by the club. Joel and his teams continued through 2003, and then John Bell issued the publication until 2007. John is a freelance writer and a talented storyteller and illustrator with a long history in publishing. Sometime in 2002, Joel Harris was able to find a source to publish the hardcover issues of 2001 and 2002. Marcus Mevis produced book plates, which were signed by the authors and illustrators and could be posted into the front of the books. At first, these hardback issues were available only for purchase, with a significant discount given to the authors and illustrators. At some point, these hardcover editions became a premium for those joining at the patron level. Oziana 2007 came out under the capable and talented hands of Marcus Mevis, who had been involved with the publication since 2001 and who has continued to edit and publish Oziana ever since. Marcus is a talented illustrator, author, and graphic designer. He has promised a spectacular 2021 issue celebrating the 50th year of the publication. Without these talented and hardworking volunteers, Oziana would never have reached the 50-year mark. If you are not yet a member, or if you have not renewed your membership for 2021, please do so. I first joined the Oz Club in 1988, but I had been reading the Oz books since I was a child. I was clearing out closets at our childhood home after my grandparents had moved to smaller quarters, and I discovered the books on the floor of a closet in that home. When I got to the Oz books, I took them out and I reread them. I reread them joyfully. So I discovered sometime in my 20s that there were actually more Oz books out there than I had received on Christmas birthdays from my grandparents, and I vigorously hunted for them so I could read the stories I did not have. Thus began my love of Oz stories. There are several annual membership levels, from a youth membership for those 17 and under at only $15 a year, all the way up to a patron level, which starts at $250. Those who can contribute $250 are patrons, and those who can contribute $500 are listed in the Wizard Circle. All memberships include 3 issues of the Bound Bugle, notice of club conventions and meetings, and discount pricing on printed materials at our online store. The online store is at shop.ozclub.org. The entire store includes books and other publications issued by the club. Those joining at the contributing level or above enjoy the first-class mailing of the Bugle. Joining at the sustaining level and above entitles members to the full-color 2021 Oz Club calendar. Patron members receive, in addition, the hardbound full-color signed edition of Oziana for 2021. Wizard Circle members receive a token thank you gift that changes yearly and the heartfelt gratitude of the Oz Club. We hope you enjoy this series of stories from the Oz Club. I have certainly enjoyed selecting them for you. Thank you.